Hello, welcome to the Lebenspraxis Podcast with Joseph Bartz, where we explore practicing, living a life of purpose, actions and decisions, and ask what is the good life. And today we do something a tiny bit different, or I do something a tiny bit different from the last episodes. I try to do the whole episode in one go without editing. So in the last episodes, I was always editing quite a bit. In episode, I think number 2, I was editing a lot and on purpose. I was experimenting on how is it if I take out all the pauses and so on, and I have a very, very continuous talking created through the editing. And then in the episodes after, I was editing less and less and asked you for feedback on what episodes you like most from the listening experience. And yeah, as it always is, some people say this episode, some people say that episode. So in the end, you could say, maybe the feedback is not really helpful because it's just opinions. Some are like this, some are like that. But still, it's interesting to hear from people how they feel about the different episodes. So in this episode, I go the complete opposite of episode number 2, where I was heavily editing. Here, I don't want to edit at all. I try my best to have a consecutive stream of talking here, which I felt I felt a bit unconfident with in the last episodes. I need more time to think in between, so I need to stop the recording, think a bit, then continue the recording. There was also a need for me to edit. Yeah, okay, so let's see how I manage today. And the topic for today is there is no virtue in being busy. Busy. This is a word, an English word, and it is a word that people like to use nowadays for their state of being. To say I'm busy. And this is, what do you say when you say I'm busy? In our today's society, it seems to me like you're saying it's okay that I'm alive, because it feels like there is this, in society, there is this need for telling other people that it is okay that I exist because I'm doing things that are worth doing, that are good for society. But the funny thing is that in the notion of being busy, there's no notion of quality in it. There's a notion of quantity. You do things, but it doesn't say anything about how good the things are that you do. And this is what I want to talk about in this episode here, that there is no inherent virtue in being busy. It is about the quality of what you're doing. And let's talk for a moment about one book that I really like from David Graeber, very, very great author. He just recently there was a book published that he wrote. It's posthum because he died, I think, last year, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe already the year before. Very unfortunate for the world, because he was a very, very, very interesting author. So very sad because he died, let's say, before it was time. I read 2 of his books. The newest book I didn't read yet. It's on my list. So I read the book Depth, the first 5,000 years. Very interesting. But I want to talk about the other book that I read from him, which is called Bullshit Jobs. Bullshit Jobs is a book that claims that we have in our society many people, and the numbers, I don't remember the numbers anymore, I have to say, but it was high. Let's say 50% or something like this. It was incredibly high, the number. A certain amount of a certain percentage of the people are doing bullshit jobs in our society. That's the claim of the book. What is a bullshit job? A bullshit job is a job where the person that is doing the job says that this job makes no sense, and if it wouldn't exist, the world would be the same. It would definitely not be any worse if this job wouldn't exist. So it is about the person saying that job is bullshit. Yeah, if another person is saying the job is bullshit doesn't count, because obviously there are always people saying, yeah, I don't know, being a piano player is bullshit or something like this. No, it's really about the actual person that is doing the job saying that the job is bullshit. So what are these kind of jobs? A lot of them are bureaucratic jobs. A lot of them are on computers, but there are some other examples as well. Like I like this one because it's from Germany. It's an American author, or US American author. And the example from Germany was there is a contractor from the Bundeswehr. There's the German army, German military. This free contractor, or he works for a company. The company is contractor. He works for this company, and he is going to offices of the Bundeswehr, and what he's doing is he's moving computers from one office to the other. So he says one typical day for him, one typical work day is he drives 500 kilometers to an office. He packs the computer and monitor and all stuff into boxes. Then he carries it to an office 20 meters further. So he's not going to a different building in a different city or something like this. He's in the same building. He's on the same floor. He's just moving it 20 meters further. Then he unpacks the computer, puts it back working. Yeah, just takes a few minutes probably. And then he drives back 500 kilometers. That's his job. So obviously the reason for this is some bureaucratic nonsense about who is allowed to move computers and security issues and blah, 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 blah. And obviously a lot of these jobs are government or government funded jobs. Yeah. There's another example, I think someone in Spain, or it was a Spanish speaking country. I don't remember anymore exactly, but this guy didn't work for a full year, sort of full year. Yeah. If you read the book and my numbers are a bit wrong, doesn't matter. The stories, the core of the stories is accurate. So he was just sitting in his office for 1 year, not doing any work. He was just reading or doing any other stuff. And it took 1 year until other people noticed. Yeah. So his work was so useless. So no one needed it, that it took so long until anyone else realized that he's actually not working. But not just governmental jobs have this. He also shows many accounts where in various companies there are bullshit jobs, and you would think, hey, we have a free market capitalistic society, so this should weed out bullshit jobs. There should be only jobs that make economically sense, that are effective. And then David Graeber says, yeah, okay, if that's true for a capitalistic free market society, then we are definitely not living in one, because the amount of bullshit jobs that no one needs is so high that, and also in private companies, that, yeah, we just don't live in a free market capitalist society, apparently, or our notion of it is wrong. But he has many accounts of weird sort of ghost jobs created where people don't really do anything, and it serves some super weird function that it needs to be on a paper, this job, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I mean, and these people are doing stuff. I mean, not the one that didn't do anything for 1 year, but the guy that drives 500 kilometers there and 500 kilometers there back to spend 30 minutes to move a computer. He's busy. No? He's busy. You can probably say he's busy. So does that make him doing good stuff? No, I don't think so. And I mean, yeah. Business is no virtue in itself. Simply because you can be busy doesn't mean that anything good happens from that. So let's talk about one particular case that's not in the book. It's a case that I found somehow accidentally. I stumbled upon it in the internet. It's the case of Marissa Mayer, who is the former CEO of Yahoo. She's known for claiming that she works 130 hours per week, and she was called the hardest working CEO in Silicon Valley, all sorts of things. So let's get some stats about her. So Marissa Mayer became the CEO of Yahoo in 2012. And before that, she was working for Google. In 2009, she was called one of the 10 tech leaders of the future by Newsweek. I don't really know what Newsweek is, some American news outlet. And 2008, she was under the 50 most powerful women on the planet on the Fortune list. Fortune, I know what it is. It's a magazine about fortune. So I read from Wikipedia, yeah. So in 2014, Mayer was ranked 6 on Fortune 40 under 40. So 40 most powerful businesswomen under 40, I think. And then she was ranked, and then she was ranked 16th of most powerful businesswoman in the world. And now it becomes interesting because 2016, so 2014, she was very high up the list. In 2016, she was named as one of the world's most disappointing leaders, as one of the most disappointing leaders. And let's talk about what has happened here. Who knows what Yahoo is? Because if you are just 20-year-old, you might not even know what Yahoo is. I mean, I know what Yahoo is, but I never spent any substantial time on there. Even 20 years ago, I think Yahoo was nothing to spend time on. I mean, they had this free online email service, and they had news, and I think the news were pretty uninteresting and not worth to go there. There were definitely better news sites, and they had groups. Yeah, like Google had also these groups. This was basically before there were things like forums, or later Facebook and blah 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 blah. So this was more at the, let's say, start of the user internet. There were these groups, but for me, Yahoo was always a bit of a mystery because it was a big company. But I mean, the few moments in my life when I ended up on the website of Yahoo, I always felt like, what's happening? Like, how is this possible that someone spends time here? But it's probably also because of the free email service. So Yahoo had problems, and then Marissa Mayer came, and her goal was to turn the company around to be successful again. And Marissa Mayer was known for working very hard. As I said, 130 hours a week. But let's stop for a moment. 130 hours a week? 130 divided by 7, that's 18.5 hours per day. So there's not much time left for doing anything else than work. There are 5.5 hours left per day. It's quite little if you think about that. I mean, most of us that are concerned about being healthy sleep 8 hours per day. So that would be already not possible. But then what is about commuting? What is about eating? What is about, I don't know, taking a shower or taking out the garbage to the garbage can? Actually, I had a time in my life when I was putting this in my schedule. I was searching for free slots in my schedule to take out the garbage. This was because I was training so intensely that even that was something that was would have taken energy away from my training. was a good time. Why not? Yeah, but it's definitely not so sustainable. So she regularly pulled off all-nighters during her time at Google already. And it's said that she even worked from her hospital bed shortly after having twins. So what she says is, this is from an interview in Bloomberg, is The other piece that gets overlooked in the Google story is the value of hard work. When reporters write about Google, they write about it as if it was inevitable. The actual experience was more like, could you work 130 hours in a week? The answer is yes. If you're strategic about when you sleep, when you shower, and how often you go to the bathroom, nap rooms. That's a terrible word. I hate the word nap also. It's just, it is really not beautiful to make this word. And the worst is napkin. I just said this word, but I never say it, yeah? I never say this word napkin. It's a terrible word. And the word nap I find also it has no dignity, this word. The nap rooms at Google were there because it was safer to stay in the office than walk to your car at 3 a.m. For my first 5 years, I did at least one all-nighter a week, except when I was on vacation, and the vacations were very few and far between. Great. So Google has these rooms where you can sleep. I don't know why they call it nap room. If you sleep there at 3 a.m., it sounds more like a sleeping room. It's because it's more dangerous to drive home and go at 3 a.m. after you work the whole day. Great. Okay. We can say Google is quite successful. So, that's definitely a given that Doodle is Google, not Doodle. Doodle is also a company, but that's a much smaller company from Switzerland. But Google is successful. Okay. Yes, we get it. But does it mean that now if you go to a different company and you also work 130 hours per week, will that also make the company successful? Let's come back to what we said before. In March 2016, Mayer was named one of the world's most disappointing leaders. Yeah, 2012, she became CEO of Yahoo, when her mission was to make Yahoo successful again. So this is from New York Times, I think, what I read now. So this is also a quote from her. Apparently something that she said to the employees of Yahoo. Our purpose is to inspire and delight our users, to build beautiful services, things that people love to use and enjoy using every day. And that's our opportunity. Okay, so that was definitely a great fail, but yeah, I mean, we do things and we fail at it, and it shows that even spending 130 hours per week onto things and being super hardworking doesn't mean that we are successful. Yeah, that's important to understand. Because there is a huge notion about hard work, whatever that means. What does it mean, hard work? Come on. Who's working hard? Yeah, people in a coal mine in Eastern Europe or in a sulfur pit in Indonesia where they carry 100 kilograms up a mountain, or a firefighter that is fighting a forest fire for days. I mean, that's definitely hard work. I always find it a bit weird that we talk about all this computer stuff and being in this, like optimal environments with climate control and this nice food and blah 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 and all sorts of conveniences, and then we talk about hard work. And the hard work that we are doing is that we try to make a, let's say, useless company that actually doesn't create beautiful services or is inspiring the users. This is what we spend our time with then, our whole life with, 130 hours per week. That's our whole life. Okay, but let's look in what might be reasons for Mayer's unsuccess. So in this New York Times article, there are some hints. So I read it here. Mayer's refusal to delegate became a sticking point. She insisted on personally approving every hire. One executive complained to a friend that Mayer spent as much time deliberating Yahoo's parking policies as she did strategizing over the sale of its Alibaba stock. Maya also had a habit of operating on her own time. Every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, she asked her direct reports together for a 3-hour meeting. Maya demanded all of her staff across the world join the call. So executives from New York, where it was 6 p.m., and Europe, where it was 11 p.m. or later, would dial in too. Invariably, Maya herself would be at least 45 minutes late. Some calls were so delayed that Yahoo executives in Europe couldn't hang up till after 3 a.m. So, yeah, it's hard to work less than 130 hours a week if you're the CEO of a company and you basically do everything yourself. Yeah, I mean, deliberating Yahoo's parking policies. Okay, obviously there's someone just caught into doing and not understanding what leadership means, because that's a clear sign of someone that is not a good leader, because the most basic thing about good leadership is to trust other people and that the people you're leading can do things at that, and that means delegating. Yeah, there's basically 101 about leading. No, you will, take any leadership or how to lead a company book, and it will always be about good delegation and having people that you can trust, so that you actually have time to lead. Because deliberating Yahoo's parking policies is not leading. Leading means to have a vision, to bring this vision forward and to steer the ship into a certain direction. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you also sit on the how do you say what's the word in English? The Ruder, the rudder? Can you say this? I don't know. Yeah, you know what I mean. What you bring the ship forward. I cannot do any cuts here, so this has to be in. Yeah, usually I would cut this and look it up. Anyway, so there's another interesting thing that I want to talk about here that is also mentioned in the New York Times. It's the following. Maya also favored a system of quarterly performance reviews, or QPRs, that required every Yahoo employee on every team be ranked from 1 to 5. The system was meant to encourage hard work and weed out underperformers, but it soon produced the exact opposite. Because only so many 4s and 5s could be allotted, talented people no longer wanted to work together. Strategic goals were sacrificed, as employees did not want to change projects and leave themselves open to a lower score. This is highly interesting because it is very connected to the working 130 hours a week, because there are quantities here. Yeah, there is a lot about numbers. Okay, I work this amount of time, and now we give people numbers of performance. We rank them from 1 to 5, and there's only a certain amount of 4s and 5s that we have. Yeah, so you have to fight for these 4s and 5s. Okay, now you are all competitors. Now you all compete against each other in this company. How on earth can someone think that this is a good idea? I wonder. Like, what's going on? Why are we so dumb? You know, why is this implemented? I mean, in school, grades are also something that I despise. I just despise it. What's it? Why? And in first grade already, yeah. Why do you give grades to first graders? They're 6 years old. They just came into school, and then you tell them how they perform. This is what's killing the spirits of young children. Humans should not be graded. This is wrong. And here it was also apparently clearly shown. And I find it also, I mean, as kids already find it super annoying, but as a adult, I just find it an attack on my dignity if someone else is rating how I perform and what is this about. I mean, if you are a good team, this doesn't need to happen. And if people understand the purpose of the work and are behind this, yeah, why then there needs to be no ranking. Then people do what they need to do and all is good. And especially this thing that there are only a certain 4s or 5s that can be allotted. Yeah, imagine that would be the same in school. I mean, already there is competition in school for the grades, but now imagine there would be only one guy that can get the best grade. What a disaster! What a disaster! Yeah. Okay. So. My resume, I didn't turn Yahoo around, didn't work, put 130 hours per week in. Wasn't enough, failed, probably because she was working too much and not thinking enough. She was probably not a leader, and she was put in this position because people said she's an incredible hard worker, but didn't realize that this is not what's making a leader. And this is also not what's making a great worker. Yeah. Yeah, you need to understand that to create quality, you need to have a good balance of producing, digesting, resting. Yeah, take it like this, like you eat something comes in, then you sit down, lie down, digest, rest, and so on and so forth. So it's not that you just eat and directly jump around and run around, or you just eat or something like this. There is rhythms, like the circadian rhythm. Yeah, acknowledge this, and actually many people that say they're working so much are actually not really effectively working that much. Most people that work on their contract 40 hours per week, they don't work 40 hours per week. At least not, I mean, they are there, they're present. But how much time on the computer is actually spent doing nothing of great effect? Some are doing it. Some are really effective with their work, but many people, they don't really care also about their work. That's a thing. You just want to, you just make sure you spend your time there and then you go home, but but because a lot of work is bullshit, you might not be so involved, and it's understandable. My working time is pretty limited because I have 2 young kids. And I want to be there for them. I want to spend time with them. It's very, very important for them. It's very important for me. It is the right thing to do. I shall not work too much. Yeah, I don't work 130 hours per week. I have the energy to work quite a lot. Yeah, to work 12 hours per day. I'm a doer. I just do things, but I cannot just disappear and work all the time. So I limit myself to 8 hours, Monday, Friday, 40 hours, and I try to be very effective with it. Yeah, my work is a bit different from most people's work, so effective sometimes also means just lying there for 2 hours, not doing anything, because this is where the ideas come from, actually. Yeah, not like typing at the keyboard or doing, I don't know, push-ups the whole time or whatever. Yeah. So you have to understand what effective means. Effective work. It doesn't mean to be busy. So the funny story is that my son, he said in the kindergarten, he said to one of the nursery teachers there, he said, my father is sometimes sleeping and working at the same time. And of course, they were laughing and find it very funny and ask what sort of weird work I'm doing, but it's true. I'm sometimes just lying there, half asleep, half awake, thinking about things. And this is part of my effective work. So not being busy in that sense is part of my effective work. Work doesn't become meaningful because you do it a lot. It becomes meaningful because you do something meaningful in the first place. So you can work 130 hours per week as a Mafiosi or NFT scammer or as a Fahrkartenkontrolleur bei der BVG or whatever. Yeah, but you have to first find something that is meaningful, and then you can see what makes sense to spend time-wise on that work. As I said already, you need to rest, you need to digest. Yeah. And on the other hand, and that's important to understand as well, and we already talked about this a bit, if you don't spend time with something, nothing happens. Yeah. So what is a good long-term balance of doing and not doing? How much time do I need to spend on something? That's something to figure out. So if you want to become stronger and you're not doing anything for that, it obviously makes sense to increase your time on it. But interestingly enough, the internet is full of articles and videos that tell people about the importance of rest and that the reason why you're not becoming stronger, although you train a lot, might be because you're not resting enough or the quality of your rest is not good. But showing up, that's obviously needs to be there. Yeah. So there are the people that are just thinking, okay, I need to spend more time. 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 But actually the quality of the time spent is not so good. Yeah. They don't use their time effectively. That's one thing. And then obviously there's the people that are just not spending any time and think, why did I not become stronger? Or why do I still have back pain? Or why is my I don't know, blogging career not going anywhere? It might be just because you're not spending any time on it. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to become the best snowboarder in the world for the last 30 years. I never stood on a snowboard. I never spent any second on it, but yeah, I'm trying that. Obviously this doesn't work, yeah? So you need to spend time. You need to spend a certain amount of time that is different from each endeavor, but you need to spend time. That's a given. That must be clear. But now the other hand is, how much time do you need to spend? How much time is effective to spend? Because there is a maximum time to spend on things, and there's a minimum effective time also. Yeah, there's something called the minimum effective dose, MED. It's also something very contemporary. Yeah, what's the minimum time I can spend on something? What's the most effective? What's the most, it's 10 minutes is enough. 10 minutes of this, 10 minutes of that. And before I got kids, this was super ridiculous for me. Why would I just be interested in the minimal effective dose? I want to dive deeply into things. I'm not interested in minimal. But with kids, I realized that time is scarce, so I don't have so much time, and I put some things on minimal effective dose. Yes, because they're important for my health, but I don't want to make it a priority, a sub-optimization. Yeah, a nice term that I can introduce later, but I have also a podcast on it, a German podcast on it with my friend Sasha that I can link here for the German speakers on sub-optimization, what this means. But in the end, anyway, the minimal effective dose is quite a contemporary thing, is the other side of the same coin. And on one side is the minimal effective dose, and on the other side is the busy, work hard thing. Good. So find the balance. Spend time with things, but find what is the time the amount of time you spend there effectively. So in a sense, it's good maybe to find the minimal effective dose and to find the maximum effective dose. Explore the extreme, find the middle. That would be interesting as well. Yeah. What is the maximum of time that I can spend on this and I still be effective? Yeah, not just spending time of it and nothing happens anymore, but really effective time. What is the minimal amount of time that it still has an effect? And what is a sustainable middle of this? Remember, showing up is not enough. Yeah, always this thing. Showing up is not enough. It's not about the time or just the time. Time is important, but the quality of what you're doing with the time, yeah, how effective it is, what you're doing, that's equally important, let's say. So, okay, again, if you're working 40 hours per week on something, I would first ask if you're really working 40 hours per week. Instead of thinking of increasing your raw time, increase the actual time of working within this raw time. And there's also something important. There is a play between not having enough time and thus becoming more effective with the time that you have. So that's minimal effective dose, you could say. And having unlimited time and letting this create things that can only happen through that relaxation into the infinity. Yeah? What would you do if you have unlimited time in this topic? That's very interesting. What happens then? Okay, so I think it's good to not get drawn too much into thinking, yeah, I need to work hard and many hours, but to realize it's about doing good work and about doing quality and about doing something meaningful. And that can mean to work many hours. That can mean to work hard. But the meaning comes first. Good. I think it's enough for today. I'm quite happy with my experiment. It's obviously not as smooth as with editing, but I think it was okay. Let me know if you have any comments on that. You can comment on the YouTube version of this podcast or send me an email to contact@josefbartz.de. If you have any thoughts on anything that I talked about, I'm always very happy to receive opinions and to talk with people and also to be able to talk about various opinions here. So as I did in an episode before already, reading one of the emails that I received, I think this is the nutrition for this podcast. All right, guys. If you want anything certain to be discussed here, you already gave me some good ideas and I have a list of things that I want to talk about. But if you have anything else on your mind that should be discussed here, please just write to me. Good.